going live. I'm just getting the Telegram and Facebook started, and then we'll begin. All right, let me start Facebook, and then we will go. All right, folks, we are live on Facebook, Telegram, Rumble, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. We have Dennis Andrew Ball with us today. We have a lot to talk about, a lot going on in the world. We're going to be touching on Ballonomics a bit. I imagine he's got an announcement to make, and we will go from there. But with that being said, I will let him tell you about that after we play our intro. The views expressed on this show are expressly the views of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views, beliefs, or opinions of News for Us World, its hosts, broadcasters, or affiliates. Remember, folks, always use your own discernment when viewing. We encourage our viewers to think for themselves. Welcome, everyone. All right, so let us play the intro, and then we'll let you do your housekeeping.
In 1980, Ronald Reagan wore a white suit, a red tie, and a white shirt and addressed the nation. Hi, I am Dennis Andrew Ball, and I am running for President of the United States. I am talking to you right now because the debates that were conducted this week need to have a presidential response. The economic issues that both Barack Obama and Mitt Romney answered created in the minds of many of us unanswered questions of how do you sustain economic growth in the United States of America. In light of the decisions and the events that have happened since 2008, what do we need to do to reduce the deficit, increase job creation, maintain Social Security and Medicare, and provide the opportunity for our children and future generations not only to survive, but to thrive in a global economy. I would like to talk to you quickly on how I perceive what needs to happen. The United States of America at this time is suffering because the means of production have not equaled the ends of production that it requires in order to sustain its middle class. The United States of America must reindustrialize itself to make it possible that 23 million Americans can go back to work in industries that are productive for themselves and their families. What we are witnessing on a daily basis is the demise of the American family, the traditional American family of children, parents, and grandparents, by people in authority who have used, abused, and misused their positions to hurt our people. This must stop, and it will under my administration. The need at this moment of time is to get our organs of power in business to invest in research and development, to make it possible for industry to not only survive in America, but also to thrive. My attitude is that the production capability of the United States is equal to none. Our workers are very productive if given the opportunity, but they must be protected by government that concerns themselves with their best interests. And that has been a problem for many years in this country. My attitude also is that in order for our people to get themselves in a position to care for themselves and their children, we have to evaluate at this moment in time what is important for that to happen. And I believe that it will be more of a decision on the part of the American people when they go to the voting booth to decide who they think is best qualified to do that job. I believe also that we are in a position to make decisions that will impact the course of history and to bring about positive change in the lives of our family structure. I want to say that in order to do that, the means of production will have to be a top priority to reindustrialize the middle class and to provide the support for the future generations. I want to say this, that in terms of how we go about this business, the President of the United States should be very aware of what has happened and what needs to happen. My interest at this time is to educate through my administration of candidacy for presidency to make it possible for you to learn more about me and to decide if you are better off since the election of Barack Obama and the changes that need to happen in terms of the increase in gas prices, in food prices, the mortgage forfeitures that have happened since him, and also what we will do in the future to make it possible for more people to be employed out of 23 million who are not. Consider this opportunity to communicate to your friends and your neighbors my thoughts, and I look forward to hearing from you. I need presidential electors who will vote for me through the Electoral College when I win the states in this country to become your next president. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
All right, Stephen, are you there?
I am here, but my camera's freezing up. Give me 1 second, but I'll let you go ahead and do some housekeeping while I fix that.
Right. Okay. Folks, today is housekeeping day, and we have a lot going on. And I want to thank Stephen for getting us on. The call-in line is 702-482-8620. And today, Stephen, a lot of things are going on in the world and in the campaign. At this time, we are looking to get billboards up and running in every state. I'm looking for donors in every state. We have the graphics for that, and I'm very encouraged by that. That is an important aspect of this campaign for the presidency of the United States. I'm also very much following current events in Israel and Hamas, the killings that is going on, and I believe it could easily roll over into the United States, particularly New York City. There is a very high population of Jewish culture there, and I believe that they could become easy targets for sleeper cells in this country. As a consequence, I have canceled my trip to New York until further notice. Also, I think that we have to be very alert of what's going on around us, and I think that the New York City Police Department has got to be on high alert of what could happen, a massacre of Jewish people similar to the Holocaust in Germany. I think also that the FBI and the military have to be on their game to thwart any kind of a threat that would put people, innocent people, at risk for their lives, including people at the airports, particularly LaGuardia and JFK, which I was going to fly into LaGuardia. I feel in my soul that this is what is going on in the culture, because if you look at the southern border, it's so porous. It'd be easy for sleeper cells of jihadists, Muslims, ISIS-type barbaric people. I don't know if you're aware of it, but right now they're killing babies in Israel, beheading children. I mean, this is the type of people we're dealing with. As far as I'm concerned, they must be wiped off the face of the earth. And as president, I will see to it that our military is on their game doing exactly what has to get done. Right now, it's Israel's problem, but it could easily become ours. And as far as I'm concerned, Iran is involved in this very heavily. It's been shown evidentially that they were the ones behind these attacks on a proxy war, as if the world didn't have enough problems with Russia and Ukraine. Now we have Israel and the Middle East to deal with. Of course, we've known that for some time. That's why I wrote the Ball Doctrine, Creating Peace and Prosperity in Every Nation. This also falls in line with Agenda 21, the big lie, right out of the United Nations. So we have a lot of conflicts. These are all man-made. They can also be resolved through our efforts to see that the truth and the message of the family comes forth. The family is the big elephant in the room nobody wants to talk about. The family is the issue because everything revolves around it. It's as if the family is like a planet revolving itself, and everything around it revolves around it. And so if the things are not good for the family suffers. And that's true for every nation. The good news is I have written 62 titles. I have 8 more coming. That will be 70. That's divine. And the realities are that I have created 8 political parties on 8 continents. Praise God.
Yeah,
Under
definitely. And
the Ball Doctrine.
folks, we'd love to hear from you. I know we have some callers that wanted to call in. 702-482-8620. That is the number to call in.
Exactly. I have been working the phones this afternoon on the text messages, getting the word out. Joe Biden this afternoon did an announcement on national security. He has put our military on high alert. The police departments in all 50 states are on high alert. Everything is on high alert. I think it's important that that message come forth, that we are at risk here to have another 9/11 type event because of the porous southern border that Joe Biden has allowed since his inauguration in 2021. Actually, January 20th, 2021. He has been in the office of the president since then, and we can see how our nation has declined ever since. And they're saying also that Iran was the one who Joe Biden gave so much money back to that he had withheld until there was a resolution for peace. Well, you see how that worked. There's no peace. It's all a lie. And that's why I am so adamant that the American people understand we're in treacherous times and they must do everything to protect themselves from what very easily can become the next chapter in American history. I plan on intercepting that because I'm out here fighting for you, the people, you for your future, for your children and generations to come. I write about it, I talk it, I communicate, and we have people's attention. And that is really important because we are in trouble. I am not here for my health. I am here for you. I will not stop fighting for you. And all of this is very timely. Now, I want to say this too. Today's show is supposed to be about economics, called Ballonomics. Last week, we talked about United Nations Agenda 21. I'm sorry. We talked about ball care, the health care the people can't support. But United Nations Agenda 21 is part of this because I have these books I want to show you. Something I would like for you to do, if you can put up on the screen, Stephen, this cover of Ballonomics. And that would be nice because this is an important book. This talks about skilled labor education and creating living wage jobs. This is what I have created for the purpose of bringing attention to Ballonomics that will lift America and the world out of poverty from the bottom up. Thank you. There we go. People, you can get this book on Amazon.com. It's a very important book. It talks about several different aspects of the job market. And I just want to read you some chapter headings here. Won't spend a whole lot of time on it, but enough to whet your appetite and to make you better informed as to what's going on here. In chapter 1, we have what is Ballonomics? And this is why I put on the subtitle, Lifting America and the World Out of Poverty from the Bottom Up. It talks about skilled labor education. President Kennedy was a skilled labor education president. He knew in order for people to advance, they had to be educated in skills, whether they were white collar or blue collar, in order to be able to support their family. That is very reasonable. Minimum wage doesn't do it. Living wage does, and well, let's put it say can and will, with the right attitudes and support coming from corporations. The worst thing I have seen in the job market is when a person does a good job and gets nailed for it. Punished, if you will. That's horrendous to me. That should never be. But we have a problem in the culture when it comes to people's attitudes towards other people, especially in a work environment. And I am not happy with that. And I think that needs to be out there in front and talked about. That's Ballonomics. All of these issues need to be out there in front. We need to have them out in front in tables. We need to be transparent. That's the only way this world will advance in a good, righteous way so that our people and our children can survive and thrive. Otherwise, everything is in secret. Nobody knows what's going on. And the ability to destroy other people's lives is increased tremendously. And I am against it.
Accountability and transparency, folks. Those are two key things we need.
Exactly. The second chapter, lifting from the bottom up. If we're going to have any kind of progressive progress, advancement in the work environment, we have to think in terms of everybody, just not the top. We have to go from the bottom up.
We have a caller calling in.
Very good. We have to have it from the bottom up.
Faith.
Can you hear us?
Yes,
All right. Can you hear her, Dennis?
Yes, I can.
I hear.
Awesome.
I hear.
Yes.
Hi, everybody.
Hello. Who is this?
Yes, hello. This is Faith.
Oh, hi, Faith.
Hi, Faith.
I
Hello,
can hear
Faith.
whatever I'm.
What's on your mind, girl?
Oh,
No, I
Did
just
you hear the
wanted to
announcement?
hear this. You're going to talk about ball care or Ballonomic?
Right. Right now just reviewing what we've been talking about. We talked about the problems in New York City with the Jews and Hamas, the terrorists targeting them for their own purpose. We want to let the people know that there is a problem here in our society. I believe it came from the southern border, the porous border that Joe Biden has allowed our people to be vulnerable. I believe that that is a big problem. We see how these people work in the European and Middle East. I mean, I'm talking about living wage jobs. They're
No, we're still
talking
here.
about
Can you hear
killing
us?
people.
Okay.
Can you hear us, Faith? We're still
Yeah.
here.
Yes, I hear. I agree. I agree with you on that point because we don't know who is free.
Right, we don't.
It's not. It's not
Right. They're
safe.
killing babies over there in Israel. Babies. I mean, this is like what ISIS does. Now, this is not this is
What I heard-
unacceptable. I say crush them. These people are evil, just like the Nazis.
Go ahead, Faith. What were you going to say?
No, I heard that this is horrible to say, but they took a sword or something and cut a bunch of newborn babies' heads off. They set an elderly lady in a wheelchair on fire because she was too heavy to move as a hostage. And anyone, as far as being in Israel on the wrong side, it doesn't matter if you're Jewish, Christian, what you are. Americans are missing. They've been attacked, and now we have in Miami and New York people protesting for the Palestine. And I don't know if I should even go further on this. I'm just reporting what I've seen on television.
Yeah, it's scary. I mean, it's really truly frightening to see that just out of the blue like that.
And yeah, and the people that cross our borders, like we do know, are unaccounted for. So we don't know who they are or what country or what intent they have. Upon that, we have many Americans out of work or barely or just living paycheck to paycheck, riddled on the streets, homeless between illegal immigrants and or vets and just homeless people. It's becoming a disgrace, and something's got to be done.
Agreed.
And I support Israel in this endeavor.
Sure.
They're the only people or place in the Middle East that is really our friend.
And there's no justification for what's being done to them right now. I don't care what you're just. There is no justification for violently
No
and
justification.
unnecessarily killing unarmed civilians. There's no justification for that.
Exactly. Unarmed civilians in their home. From what I heard, a man and wife who fought for the Israeli, put their children in they have like a safe house. Okay, so they put them in there, notified relatives. Naturally, they went out to fight and they got killed. And now the children are being taken over by the care of relatives. The point is, it's bad for any side, for anyone, to have death and brutality and violence. It's just horrible. But this is what's going on, and this is what needs to be addressed. What say thee, Dennis?
Well, you're correct. I mean, this is an emergency. This is another crisis on top of other crises in the world as well as in our own country. I mean, I can go down the list: homelessness versus joblessness, talking about living wage jobs versus minimum wage. We're talking about the crisis in the Middle East with people getting their heads cut off because of what? What is driving all this type of behavior? It has to be hate. Hate.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, people, I have to say this, I mean, the Bible says, cursed are they who curse you, and blessed are they who bless you. And I think that applies to everybody. If somebody is using, abusing, and misusing you for no cause, and it is allowed to happen and go on forever, there's obviously a mental health problem here that needs to be addressed and solved.
Mental health problem is a definite in these case scenarios. You can't be right in the head to do things like that.
Exactly. I mean, ISIS proved that with their caliphate during the Trump administration. The realities are we have to be tough to protect ourselves, to protect our children, and to protect the future generations. We have to be tough. We have to fight. We can't sit on our butts. We got to fight. We got to take them and not stop.
Well, many people who sit on their rump, I noticed, and I won't name names, their heads are in the sand because maybe they're getting X amount of money a month. They could buy groceries, maybe another home, clothing, go on trips. So they're completely oblivious to all of this until it hits them personally. Then suddenly they have that aha moment.
Exactly.
And
but right now, the aha moment is happening to everybody because this is not going to go away unless it's dealt with very harshly and strongly, in my opinion.
And let's not forget that disastrous withdrawal a couple of years ago, which is where a lot of the equipment that they're using right now came from.
That's right. We left behind expensive, state-of-the-art military equipment and people, Americans, to die, and the equipment for them to use, examine, and replicate to use against whomever. That was a move that was not very good. That was not a cool move.
That was horrible. That set up a situation that we're in right now. We did that to ourselves just because of that fact of how poorly that was handled.
Definitely. And I appreciate, your call today, Faith. And if there's any other callers out there would like to chime in on what we're talking about, please feel free. This is a mixed bag today because of all the events. I have canceled my trip to New York. I have a lot of concerns with regard to the Jewish community in New York City and them being targeted from what has happened in Israel today. They're still bombing. They're still fighting. They're still throwing missiles at each other. The video images coming out of there are horrendous. I think it's going to be scorched earth. I think that Gaza is going to be flattened. I think 2 million Palestinians are going to die.
I
How
hope
they
it
got
doesn't
into
come to that,
Israel
but we'll see.
No, God forbid, but there was a guy driving through the border to get to the other side or something to that effect. And they followed him in when the gate went up and shot him, and his car went off a road or something, and he naturally died. And loads followed in with their guns. That was their way to get in, because they secure their borders there. No, here in America, they just say, "Come on in."
It's ridiculous.
Precisely.
It's ridiculous.
It is, and
it's horrible. So that's what let them in. That car, they piggybacked the car, and when the gate opened up, the guy went through. They came out of loads came out, and then the horror started.
Precisely, and we could talk forever about what the failures of the Israeli people, the military there, especially on their southern border. They just put a fence up. The fence is not secure enough. They didn't have the right type of fence. They didn't have the right type of people on that border to guard it, to monitor it. There should have been at least 2 fences. There should have been enough room for their cars, the border patrol cars, to monitor. They should have, with all their technology, the cameras and everything, that thing should be a fortress, and they didn't do that.
No, and here's the one thing I want to point out, they had the funds available to finish what was started. They didn't even have to spend an extra penny on it. Nobody wants to talk about that. So what did they do? Oh no, we're not going to build it. And then now all of a sudden they're going to backtrack and try and do exactly the opposite. Like, come on, dude, you ain't fooling nobody here.
Well, I'm talking about the Israeli border.
Oh, I'm talking about the one below us. I'm talking about that one. But they all are part of the same issue, I think.
They're Texas.
Yeah.
El Paso.
Right,
exactly. They did backtrack. Exactly what you said, Steve, is correct. And exactly what Dennis said is correct. How they tricked the Israeli, let me just go back on that, is they piggyback. They saw them open the gate at the border. The car goes through. They shot at the car, and tons came following. As far as our border goes, exactly how Steve and Dennis have been setting it. I don't know. It's still a deterrent. The wall down by Texas and the border is still some type of deterrent.
Right. But still, the way they went about it, ridiculous.
The people that are crossing over, now going back to our border, okay, many are going feeling they're going to be protected and have a new life. Well, on the way to their crossing, they're getting raped, murdered, and believe me, the cartel knows exactly where each and every one of them are going.
Yep.
If any of them set up their way to come across with a certain group, and they will be hunted down. So we have a mess going on.
Yes, to say the
exactly,
least.
And that's why we're talking about this today, because I have canceled my trip to New York. I was intending to go there, and I was intending to be there, and I still am, but I don't see this as having a good outcome right now, especially with the New York police being on high alert for terrorist attacks upon Jewish mosques, or not mosques, synagogues, and gathering places. I'm sure a lot of the Jews are scared there with what could happen. And it's going to be on the government there in New York City to protect them. And if they don't, there's going to be a big backlash coming from the Jewish community all over America. I know that.
Now
So
I have a friend that texted me, Dennis and Steve.
Mhm.
She told me, and they are not of the Jewish faith. They're just over in Israel, and they're Americans now in Israel, I guess. And she said all they're doing is praying. They're just praying for their safety.
Well, yeah,
was
weren't
just
several
what I
already
hear
killed
about.
that were over there? Weren't there several Americans killed that were living over there?
20 are missing
20.
at this point.
Yeah, at least 10 killed, I heard.
Now,
Right?
there's like 700, let me put it roughly like this. I haven't been updated yet, but there's approximately 700 dead Palestinians on that side, and maybe 900 last count of Israelis. Then there's missing Americans. Last I saw, 20. Many hostages, and then of course I told you about the babies with the heads chopped off, and the old lady being burnt up, and it's just a lot doing, and I have to yet to catch up what's going on. I believe the president spoke briefly. I don't believe I saw him, and he said we stand with Israel, and that they want to freeze. And if I'm a little not exact on this, forgive me, because I don't want to give disinformation. But they may freeze the money going to Iran, I believe. And then they want to cut off the food supplies and electric. However, they could always go to Egypt, who would give them help in that. But no, what I saw on TV, the Israelis are really furious. You can't blame them. This is a horror.
No, it is a horror, absolute horror, and it's unconscionable what's being done, and the fact that the fact that because of our poor withdrawal, we're partially responsible for this situation as a country.
exactly. And right now I'm helping a girl, Deborah Bouchos, who has been scheduled to be on our show. She's emailing me different things, and I'm asking her to give us a call because I think she would have a good take on things too.
Yes, we'd love to hear from you, Deborah. Call in the call-in line.
She is actually responsible for us getting our new graphics and getting billboards in the conversation here with a gentleman by the name of Robert Bettinger in California, who created our graphics, which I'm very pleased about, and helping us move this campaign forward the way it should. And I appreciate that a lot. So pardon me if I'm just being a little hesitant right now, because I'm trying to get this number, Stevens, to her.
I texted
So
it
she
to her
can,
not too long ago, or just a little bit ago. So
right, let's see, 8620, okay. And then maybe she can call in, because we want her on our show, just like Faith, and she has something, to say too. So we'll see. There we go. Okay, now. All right. Well, let's see. Hold on. Getting other people wanting to see what they.
Why don't we take another caller? Thank you, Faith, for jumping on and sharing your views. We appreciate you.
Okay.
Right.
Sign off and wish you a good night.
All right, you too. Thank you for watching.
Thank you, Faith. Okay, dear. Thank you. Steve, this is right. Okay. All right. Hold on. Let's see. Are you there, Steve?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just trying to get my camera to stop lagging.
Yeah. There we go. Okay. Hey, you got me on full screen.
Yeah, side by side. I want the viewers to be able to see the.
That's great. That's very good. People, you're looking at the next president of the United States. Tomorrow night is the Powerball, $1.7 billion. Please get a ticket. We need to get my face on any billboard out there. And I want to say every billboard if possible. Billboards show people you're for real. And that would be so good for us to have that kind of support coming. So I can tell you that the money that's available out here to be acquired is very timely. And that's how come I'm still in the campaign, because I see things continually change. I'm blown away that I, Dennis Andrew Ball, am a candidate for president, created the American Party of America, and have the support of the American people. And it's growing because the problems are so great, but there are so few answers for them in terms of the traditional established political parties, that people want answers. The good news is we have the answers. It becomes an issue of political will, whether people wish to do what must be done. There's a lot of sacrifice when you get into politics and in your life, especially in terms of families. And that's very important that be discussed and talked about. And that's why I've written Ballonomics. This is the book that very much talks about how we as a society becomes better at raising our children, having the funds available, and creating a good retirement for ourselves and generations to come. Now, I want to continue on here a little bit. I was very good what Faith Darren had to say. This is a crisis that's going on, as far as I'm concerned, all over the world now. So let us talk about what other people have said, how to solve the economic problems of our time. I have written a paper on it called Joblessness versus Homelessness, or Homelessness versus Joblessness. It all comes down to Ballonomics. Chapter 3 of Ballonomics talks about President Reagan. Reagan was the Reaganomics, from the top down. I'm from the bottom up. The bottom up means creating jobs of skilled labor, education that can fill the jobs that need to be done for industry or private business under the free enterprise system. I'm a free enterprise capitalist. I believe your money, your property belongs in your pocket, no one else. Very important. I talk about that in my other book called Hipster Capitalism, which is designed to talk to the millennial generation about free enterprise. There is a subtitle on it. I don't have the book in front of me, but Hipster Capitalism talks about free enterprise to the millennial generation. And I highly recommend you get that book too. By the way, many of my books are very much linked to each other. They create a picture of how our society can recover from all the abuse that it has been through. Some people say that I should combine all my books in one. That book would be so large and so big, it would be burdensome. No. We're dealing with individuals who need to be educated. Educated. Our owners want to keep us dumb. Let us advance beyond being dumb and get smart. That's why I'm here. So I want to say that we're going to go now into a direction of education in this program, because like Faith called in, that was excellent. there's other people that need to as well when they decide they want to. But I believe this campaign, win, lose, or draw, continues on a positive course of mutual, societal, economic, legal change, including spiritual. Because
this is
that
definitely
is what made
spiritual
America
awakening.
strong and will keep her strong again. I'm
Well,
sorry, did I interrupt you, Stephen?
No, I was just agreeing with you. Spiritual, it is definitely a spiritual aspect to this, because look at just the pure, what seems to be pure evil, going on in this world, in many aspects of corruption of our society, which you can't. I mean, the lengths they've gone, you can't describe it as anything other than evil.
Exactly. You would think we're living in Nazi Germany.
Yeah, I know. It's insanity.
We know that during the World War II, that the imams of Islam visited the Nazis and they lined up with them. If you notice, Putin lines up with the Ayatollah. There's something wrong here with all this power and control, hate and evil.
Yeah. Something's
Therefore, it is incumbent upon we, the people, get educated, become engaged in politics, become candidates, win elections, and change our culture from within. Did you hear that, people?
We, the people, be the change you want to see in the world.
Exactly. That's why I've invested my time, my energy, and my support to America, who gave me so much as a child until the bad people of my generation were allowed to reign over us. However, God is not mocked, and judgment is coming to them. I believe judgment is here. Judgment is here because it has begun. When I see people putting our signs out, putting our stickers out, wearing our buttons, and when we have our billboards up, and then our TV ads, and then our rallies, wherever they may be, airports, stadiums, conference, city conferences, city convention centers. There we go. Convention centers. Wherever they may be. Guess what? We have succeeded. Why? I did not start this out to be in the position I'm in. My position is following me, actually leading me the way it needs to. Why? Because I value America. I value children. I value the family. I value what my own parents taught me as a child and how I was able to succeed as an adult. It wasn't until this corruption touched me, I realized there is a problem in the culture. And then when I was a young man, I recognized also that there was a problem in our society, particularly after President Kennedy was assassinated. Here come the hippies, the invasion of people my own age, thinking it was cool to do all kinds of crazy things that they thought was okay. I did not think it was okay. And our own adults in that time zone led us into the Vietnam War, which President Kennedy did not want us to be. If there was any war that should have been fought, in my opinion, it should have been in Cuba. Cuba has turned out to be no good. Look what it's done to Venezuela, to El Salvador, to Nicaragua, and other Central American countries like Colombia.
He's not talking about the Cuban people, folks. He's talking about the Cuban government.
Exactly. The Cuban government, Fidel Castro and his brother, and that regime. We go over to Iraq and change that and hang Saddam Hussein. Why didn't that happen with Fidel Castro?
Good
So
question.
that is a very important time of history. I'm a historian. I believe that that needs some attention because we can see the attitude of Central America towards our southern border. We have problems here that need to be addressed. I mean it. Transparency reigns in my world. Why? Because it's necessary to solve these problems. And who's going to solve them? We, the people, are going to solve these problems.
No one's coming to save us, folks. We need to start activating and advocating for change and becoming the change and becoming participants in this, in everything in society.
Precisely.
We have the ability to affect the change, but we have to participate in that change. We can't just sit idly by and wait for somebody else to do it anymore.
We have to be on the front lines, getting educated and moving forward.
Yes.
People who allow themselves to be docile and unresponsive are easy targets for every Tom, Dick, and Harry out here who wants to use, abuse, and misuse them.
So how do we
And
combat
unfortunately,
education, critical thinking, objective, rational, impartial thought?
lifestyles are important. We have to get ourselves in a position to understand what is important and to protect it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Therefore, my recommendation and suggestion is to get busy. Ballonomics is one of my books to help do that. Besides what President Reagan suggested from the top down, I talk about in chapter 4, skilled labor, and chapter 5, replacing minimum wage jobs with living wage jobs, which means manufacturing jobs. I talk about United Nations leading the way. That's why I'm still going to the United Nations to introduce the Ball Doctrine. I have sent copies to certain people there that need to read them and be prepared for me, including the media, the New York Times, the New York Post, Wall Street Journal, and others. Also, we need to be able to abolish child labor in other nations. I've talked about this a lot. What happens in the Philippines, what happens in Pakistan with children. We need to have children in school and their parents being able to support them. That's true here in America.
Yeah. And speaking of schools, we need our educators in our, in those positions of educating positions to be paid a proper fair wage, which they're not in my county. And, not only is the administration staff racketeering the sped money, they're stealing from every department. It's ridiculous.
Exactly. This is a problem all over this country because we have lost our industrial base of manufacturing, processing in America. As a matter of fact, I was preparing my clothes for New York. My beautiful white tie says made in China. My beautiful royal blue French colored dress shirt says made in Bangladesh. And my full length coat and pantsuit says made in Vietnam. I don't see anything that says made in America.
Right.
That is a problem.
And here's why. Let me explain just briefly the dynamic for our viewers. When you outsource manufacturing out of country, what you do is you take away from that country's ability to manufacture and create a middle class for itself, but you also take away from our ability and our economic structure and strength in the process. That's why it's important we create a middle class in every country. And how do we do that? We manufacture, start bringing back our manufacturing to our countries. And every country should be doing this.
Precisely. I mean, it's not rocket science. The people who have caused this problem, to me, are evil and greedy.
Yeah.
They want to make more money elsewhere. What happened to the American people? Our own people.
About the American people, they want a globalist world government is what they want. Where they
well, see, I don't buy that. I don't like that. No,
I don't like that either.
I'm an American. We are the Americans. We are family first. If you're not fighting for your family, who are you working for? It's a very important question everybody needs to answer. I won't take time to get involved in it, but we're the white states. We're the Americans. We believe family first. We believe integrity. We believe veracity. We're not perfect, but we sure as hell don't want to come out here and hurt people at somebody else's expense.
Exactly.
Okay? Very important. You know, where are the Americans? The real ones. We need to show up, people. And the men, you need to show up too. We have a lot of ladies in this party and interested people. But we need you guys too to show up and understand you have real skin in the game here. You are the future and your children are too. And our nation depends on the people who understand and are educated to do something powerful and positive about this.
Absolutely.
Ronald Reagan talked about it from generation to generation, and he was correct. And so am I. And therefore, it is important upon all of us to protect our nation and each other from the evil that is around us. That's the way I see it. And introducing books like Ballonomics, I believe, goes a long way to start the process of getting people organized for real change. This book also talks about abolishing child labor, making families strong again, which means restoring the American dream. I have a book about that as well, coming off of Keeping America Strong Again. That's actually a 2-volume set. Very good information in that as well. The Global Imperative, which is to go into every nation, the Ball Doctrine, and creating security and peace by economic support for each country, building a middle class. That is the notion of the Ball Doctrine. Colonialism is dead. It is never coming back. That's my opinion. I don't see any evidence to the contrary. Even in the Middle East, those people need to be educated to be into manufacturing jobs, skilled labor, and they need to focus their attention away from commodities like oil and build a base of support in agriculture and livestock and consumer goods and sports and theater, the arts, creating intellectual acumen, meaning intellectual properties that communicate entertainment. You know, before Turkey went Islamic, they had much of what we do here in America. And their people enjoyed it. It wasn't until the imams and the mosques and all of the Islams and Muslims got all of their panties in a twat that everything changed, especially with the Ayatollah Khomeini, who was propped up by intellectuals in the West, believe it or not. That's how that happened. I'm a historian. And there were people in France, particularly, and in other European nations who wanted an Islamic revolution against the Shah of Iran. They took hostages from America, put them in the embassy, held them until President Reagan became the president, and then released them because I think they knew Reagan wasn't going to play. And he was going to do something that needed to be done. I know Kobe Towers, with the bombing there in Saudi Arabia, with losing our Marines there, was a big jolt to Reagan. But he did deal with Libyans, Muammar Gaddafi. And we see that the globalists killed Gaddafi because he wouldn't play ball with them, with the IMF and the World Bank.
Yeah, no, you're right. No, I was looking into that, and you're absolutely right. That's what happened with that, folks.
I am a historian, people. I know my history, and I know and can see God has given me a gift. It's been documented on the radio when I was on the Dennis Prager show. The gentleman who substituted that day for him, I introduced myself as a candidate for president and my name. And he said, "You have a gift." He says, "I'm inclined to put your website out there for everyone to see," but he didn't do it. But he did say, "I have a gift." And I do have a gift. It was something God gave me. I have a gift to write books. I have the gift to write plays. I have the gift to communication. That's my gift.
As do I, my friend. As do I.
Yes, you do, Stephen. And we thank you for your gift of communication. It's very, very timely and important. So that pretty much wraps up Ballonomics. Last week, we covered this book some. This is Ball Care, Healthcare the People Can Support. Ball Care talks about money-driven economics in healthcare. If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. That's important. And the government is the payer. Under Ball Care, there's no copays. If you need a procedure and the doctor orders it, it gets done. We don't haggle over cost. There are no deductibles. And your health is supported by your money and your government. And how that is achieved is through fair taxes and tariffs and reducing the size of government. It's too big, Stephen.
Way too big. Way too big. It's gotten way out of hand.
It is. And the national debt will go away with the Fair Deal under the Ball Act because of what President Kennedy did with his executive order, which is still valid, still active, never rescinded, never canceled, upon which I, as president, can go in, reverse this debt that belongs to the Federal Reserve, not to the American people, and see to it that we start with a $330 billion debt, not a $33 trillion debt. And we go back on the gold standard. And if we need extra money, we can sell bonds. And we can keep our fiscal house in order because we are working in the best interest of the American people.
And if you get rid of the corruption, folks, you'll have a whole lot of extra money to work with to put towards other things. Think about that, because just imagine how much many millions or billions are being racketeered through corruption right now.
Mark it down, Stephen. It has begun.
Yes, it has. It has.
This is a time of history, at this time in history, where someone has shown up that can change history. And I am him.
It'll only
Therefore,
take a few courageous speaking out against tyranny to change the course of history.
exactly. You burn the country down, you still have the same issues that we're talking about today. Economic security, economic freedom is based on production. As I said in the spot on the program in the intro, reindustrializing the middle class to create living wage jobs to support themselves and their children. We used to have that. With the way that corporations evolved, with people like Mitt Romney, who was nothing more than a property manager, cutting and taking and using and substituting and putting people in bankruptcy and going in and redoing and then profiting. And it's a little more than complicated than that, but we don't have time today to get into it. But that has been a lot. If you notice the history in the 90s all the way into today, that would be a 33-year run. 33 is an important number for a lot of reasons. So I'll just leave it at that. 33 was the age of Christ when he was crucified, and 33 steps in the Loretto Chapel in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Don't forget your 33rd degree Masons.
Oh yes. There, 33 is an important number. Well, folks, thank you for listening. We have more to talk about next time. If you'd like to be on the show, please call in or contact me personally on the AOA-ANC.org website or on the Facebook page, on Messenger. We also have text messaging for those who have their phone number on that. But the time has come now. It has begun. And the genie is out of the bottle and it's not coming back. And every one of these events that go bad in this country is only fuel for us to show the American people what needs to be done now.
Hear, hear.
For them, their children, and generations to come. That is why I am here. And for that, I am blessed. In the meantime, we want to have some fun. It doesn't have to be all serious all the time. And that will happen too. So thank you for listening. God bless you. God bless America, Stephen. And let us proceed on the campaign for America.
Sounds good.